This is the city of Bristol in the southwest of England, a shining beacon of British engineering, known for building very big ships, very long bridges, and very fast planes, though all pale in comparison to Bristol's greatest invention, the world's first hollow chocolate Easter egg.
That is bloody lovely.
But today, the city has another feather in its cap. It is the world's premier producer of nature documentaries. In fact, the city is chock full of production companies and post houses which make the creme de la creme of wildlife films. For almost 70 years, teams based in the city have been sent all over the world to supply television with the most astonishing animal behavior. Moments of awesome power.
To find fossils, you sometimes have to use violent methods.
Stories of tender courtship. And encounters of pure, unadulterated terror.
Boo!
Yes, Bristol has gone global. Even my own home country, the tiny island of Malta, has a long history of receiving Bristolian teams to film its natural wonders. But Bristol has a very short history of receiving Maltese filmmakers to see its wildlife. That is a history which started just 1 year ago, when I moved there. On its outer fringes, Bristol is charming enough, with picture postcard suburbs, colourfully painted houses, and pleasant parks. But as you approach its nucleus, Bristol becomes very much like any other major English city centre. A cold place, made of steel, glass, and concrete. Its streets choked with cars. Bathed in noxious clouds of burning cannabis, and held together by the despair of humanity, still coming to terms with its own existence. But the people here scarcely realize that they are walking past a city within a city. A city which reveals itself on the very finest of spring days. Colony of thousands of Ashy mining bees. Each bee has waited out 12 long months underground as a larva, feeding on food stores left by its mother. The warmer days of spring have given them all the signal to emerge together. The city can be an overwhelming place for a bee who's been living underground for a year. But the spring sunshine breathes life into her wings. For males, life is about to become very busy and very short. They only have a couple of weeks to live. In that time, they must mate with as many females as they can. A few sips of the sugar-rich nectar from the city's dandelions will fuel the male's sex-crazed hawking. They fly low and slow above the ground, looking for females emerging from their burrows. They sniff out the female's telltale pheromones hanging around the burrow entrances. Every crack and hole in the soil is searched. Each male needs to find a female before all the other males get to her first. The need to mate sends them all into a frenzy. They even begin mistakenly pouncing on fellow males. Eventually, males do manage to catch a female, and soon the ground becomes littered with wrestling bees. Sometimes multiple males will fight for the same female until the grass in the city is rustling and buzzing with the noise of hundreds of angry and aroused bees. The constant searching and fighting takes quite a toll on the males, and soon after passing on their genes to the next generation, their bodies and spirit are spent. But the females are still going strong. Now that their eggs have been fertilized, it's time to make preparations for baby. Just as their mothers did for them last spring, they get to work digging tunnels in the soil. And each tunnel is provisioned with pollen and nectar. These underground stores of food are very valuable indeed. Just like the human city bustling around it, the bee city has its own freeloaders. In fact, you've already seen a few of them. There. See that thing flying amongst the other hundreds of insects? Don't worry if you didn't spot it the first time round, because this insect's whole livelihood is based on sneaking around. It's a nomad bee. This bee has absolutely no intention of going through all the work of preparing food for its young. Why not just steal it? When the Ashy mining bee is away getting more pollen, the Nomad sneaks in and lays an egg of her own. It's very risky business. There's no telling when Mum will be back, and if she catches the Nomad bee red-handed, she will be prepared to fight to the death. So the Nomad quickly lays an egg and backs up to make a getaway. Its own larvae will take over this Ashy mining bee nest, feeding on the nectar and pollen collected by someone else. Not all the bee city freeloaders are sneaks. Some have a different way of getting their eggs into someone else's nest. This big bumbling brown thing isn't a bee. It's a bee fly. It's looking for those telltale tunnel entrances and flicks its bottom. Now this is no idle twerk. The bottom flick serves to deliver a little package, a bee fly egg. The fly is a bomber plane. It never lands, it just flies around, flicking its eggs into the bee nests while they're still open. Once the Ashy mining bees seal their nests up, the fly's egg will hatch and its larva will devour the bee's egg and all its nectar and pollen provisions. But not all the freeloaders in this city take the bomber plane approach. Stick around long enough next to a dandelion and you'll see one of these things. This fly has a different way to cheat the bees. We humans have rather cruelly called these thick-headed flies, though I suppose there are far worse things that an animal can be called. While the adults seem innocent enough as they sip nectar from the flowers, their larvae are parasites, but they're not after the bees' food provisions. Their method is a little more direct. Unfortunately, this species is a little bit too small for us to see its anatomy in detail, so let's scale it up a little. Now this is the Rolls Royce of thick-headed flies. It's an enormous species I photographed 3 years ago when I first moved to the UK. Let's take a look at its nether regions. This structure is called a theca. It's a bit like a crowbar or a can opener, which the fly uses to force the bee's abdominal segments apart, allowing it to lay an egg inside the bee while it's still alive. The fly larva hatches and eats the bee from the inside, developing in its abdomen. Eventually, the bee dies, and one day, the adult fly bursts out of the bee like the chest burster scene in Ridley Scott's Alien. Despite all the skullduggery in the bee city, it seems to be doing quite well. With tens of thousands of bees around, the freeloaders barely make a dent in their numbers. Soon, the female Ashy mining bees will die, and the bee city will settle down into a hidden underworld of growing bee larvae ready to emerge next year. For now, the sun sets on a hidden metropolis.